It's spring in the United States officially now, and lots of active weather, which you would expect. This is the 26th of March, and this is today's edition of Weather to Watch. Here's what I'm watching. We have actually severe weather potential in the Pacific Northwest. It's not a huge cyclone, although there is one offshore, but it's actually severe thunderstorms in the same way you would think about them in the Great Plains or the South. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. Drought relief for a little bit of Texas is possible the next couple of days, especially southern Texas. We'll take a look at the precipitation forecast for that area. Multiple areas of severe storm potential. I'll show you all the pockets, including today's up around Washington and Oregon State. And a big severe weather event seems pretty likely on Sunday. And again, too early to tell if that's a lot of tornadoes yet or anything like that, but we'll explore some of the possibilities. First of all, here's the entire U.S. You can definitely see a flow in the jet stream level out of the northwest from the Dakotas down to around Chicago and then moving up into New England as one little twist in the atmosphere moves on out. Meanwhile, we have an eruption of thunderstorms in New Mexico and the panhandle, the western panhandle, I guess you could say, of Texas, El Paso, that area. And also, I told you about that storm that's just offshore in the Pacific Northwest and what impacts that's having. Well, let's take a look at that. And here's the latest loop. So this is Washington State right here. And you see some convective elements going up here and a couple of already tops that have already gone up. And this is being recorded. Well, it's almost 6 o'clock local time here, so it's almost 4 o'clock out there in Pacific time. So, yeah, there's some definite thunderstorm activity popping up, and in fact, there is this severe thunderstorm watch that's been posted for just the northwest corner of Oregon and almost up to Seattle there in southwestern portions of Washington State. When I recorded this, I didn't see any warnings on any of these storms quite yet. But let's take a look at the local radar up there and see what that helps us out with. Here's local radar, and as you can see, there's a couple of cells there coming up toward Portland, and one little cell that kind of fired up closer to the coast. But so far, none of those have shown any signs of getting terribly out of control yet. But it is, again, a little early in the afternoon for those folks up there, so I'm expecting that to continue to build. Well, there is a severe weather outlook. It doesn't happen very often, but we have a 2 out of the 5 category here issued from Seattle straight down to Portland, stopping just short of Medford, Oregon. But this area right here is, again, what we would call a slight risk of severe storms with kind of a lower marginal sort of risk in this green area here as my pen goes completely crazy. Let's move ahead to Thursday when anything south of San Antonio in Texas, including Laredo, has that, again, slight risk of severe thunderstorms here. That's for Thursday. It's also broken in two. In northwest Missouri, north of Kansas City, and not quite to Omaha. There's a slight risk of severe storms up in that part of the world too, encompassing these 4 states. That's again for Thursday. Now, let's look ahead to Saturday. I wanted to show you this because right now the Storm Prediction Center hasn't outlined a severe weather area for Saturday. And there's a very good reason for that. It's because they're looking at a lot of the models putting a cap in the atmosphere. That's just a lower lid of warm air that prevents what would otherwise be a pretty unstable condition from those currents actually breaking that cap and growing into a thunderstorm. But if you look back at the SIPs, which is just a analog panel recognition of previous events, Saturday is showing up as a 15% risk in this area from Missouri down to Oklahoma. But it is highly conditional on whether the cap can be broken. And generally speaking, much of Missouri and Arkansas show themselves solidly in that cap, but closer to where the frontal boundaries are through Oklahoma, maybe southeast Kansas, I think there might be some. And then on Sunday, and this is going to be verified very much by the Storm Prediction Center, this is where, again, looking at that same kind of correlation, you see a large area of severe weather here. And if we go to the next map, you'll notice that is very well in line with what the SPC is saying now for Sunday. So I live in Springfield, so we're going to be watching those storms develop overhead, but a large chunk of eastern Texas all the way up to, at the end of the cycle, which would be Monday morning, up to West Virginia. So a large area watching out for severe weather then. And I love to use these. This just tells you where supercells are going to be happening. So if you look through March 26th through April 1st, there's still a strong signal in South Texas for these, and even getting up into parts of Kansas and Missouri and certainly Oklahoma. And then if we look through April 2nd through April 8th, again, the supercell composite is very strongly signaled in Texas. Again, a supercell is just an uber thunderstorm. It's one that can last longer, and the longer it lasts, the more the probability of it producing severe weather is, basically. It's not really a good indicator for tornadoes. It's just saying supercell, and then some of the other variables take over after that. So as long as you have supercell possibilities, then you can start talking about those other things, but it's too early to get into detail on what those might be. Here's the total precipitation forecast for starting today, but going through Friday. So we see a large area, especially south of San Antonio to over to Laredo and Corpus Christi, where we're seeing rainfall totals anywhere from 4 to 5 inches over, a 2-day, 3-day period. So looking pretty good. And the reason I say that is because the drought index issued on the 20th still shows that exact area in exceptional drought. Not much relief, I think, for far west Texas. I wish my pen would stop doing that. Anyway, but at least this part of the drought will be taken care of by ongoing rain. The last thing we'll show you here is that this storm will march across the U.S. So on March 30th, which is Sunday, that's that severe weather area that I was just showing you, that moves so that on the 31st or Monday, it's encompassing Georgia and much of the Carolinas as far north as Virginia. And then the heavy rain moves on. So it goes from the 28th to the 29th to go through the nation's deep south, basically. So from that drought-stricken area, it moves to the 28th and which is Friday, and to the 29th, which is Saturday. Again, the southern end of that severe storm prediction area is just forecast to be closer to the moisture source and thereby generating some pretty good rains. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.